Hey, this is Carrie from Wrap Your Head Around Silks. This is the Expecting Aerialist podcast with the Digitint Podcast Network. How's it going, guys? Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm super excited to announce that June 21 through 26th, our summer traincation, Train Hard, Play Hard in Miami, Florida. In partnership with Gravity Academy and Aerial Sailing Miami, I am putting together a 6-day, 20-hour in-studio training, and we have excursions with Aerial Sailing Miami to, do aerial off the side of a boat. All right, guys, please check the show notes if you want to sign up. If you go to my website, links in the show notes for my 2 courses, Aerial Rehab and my comprehensive beginner to intermediate course. And also on this feed on Thursdays is The Artist Entrepreneur, my weekly gab session with Noah Dock and Amanda Ritchie. All right, guys, so excited to listen to these interviews. Let's get started. Okay, let's jump right in. Listeners, Jamiza came on many, many months ago to talk about their decision to transition from him to her. And at this point, Jamiza has gone through under the knife. And there was a physical surgery happening, not just hormones. And you're in recovery right now, right?
Yes.
Okay. How are you feeling today?
Today's been a pretty good day.
Oh, yeah. Okay. What does that mean?
So I guess right now I'm 7 weeks into recovery. And so last week was kind of a turning point as far as recovery is concerned. Like I definitely have noticed stamina is better. Pain is much less noticeable, like all the time. And just in general, like I don't feel like I need to be lying in a bed for half the day. And so today being a good day it's about what I expect today to feel like.
Okay. So if you could give our listeners, and I will put the link to that episode in our show notes. So if they want to go back and listen to the entire story. But if you can kind of do a really short recap of your story, what you had decided to do, and then go to part 2 and talk about the days leading up to your surgery, what you had to do, and then everything. I need every single detail possible.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Yes.
So quick recap. So I've been an aerialist for about 13 years now, I guess. Last year, I guess, the beginning of last year, January of last year, 2025, is when I decided to make a move and transition via hormones, mainly. At the time, I had known I was trans for much, much, much longer than that. But last year was the first time I decided to do something about it. A lot of my hesitation, honestly, was part of it. Just that I knew what my body was capable of doing. I knew what I could expect from my body beforehand. And I, as an aerialist, I kind of was a little bit hesitant to make any changes to that. But I decided that it was worth it, and it has very much been worth it. Almost since the absolute beginning, within the first week, mentally, emotionally, it was pretty obvious, I guess, that it was the right decision for me. So that was last year. I went through all of the first year of hormonal changes and et cetera, as if basically going through puberty a second time, only this time fueled by estrogen, not testosterone. And then, that took us basically up to where we talked last year. And then about, again, 7 weeks ago, I went in for surgery. And that was pretty traumatic, I guess. I don't know what I was expecting, considering it's, major reconstructive pelvic surgery. But it's been a very... I don't want to say difficult, because it hasn't been difficult, but it's been a rough recovery, because all surgery like this is basically.
So post-op anyway. So
Yeah.
I've been in post-op twice. I
Okay.
broke my leg in half, had a compound ankle fracture. They put in all this hardware. They had to do a bunch of surgery. I had a C-section. They had to sew me back up. So for me, post-op, the hardest part about it, regardless of what it was that you're literally, your body is so inflamed. There's kind of like a drainage like process, regardless of what. I mean, some surgery is a lot of drainage. For example, if you were to, like, I have a friend who has to undergo a double mastectomy soon, like in the next couple weeks, and the amount of the post up for that is horrific, because you're just getting rid of a lot of fluids, and your body is inflamed, and that what's the, like, balancing out period is very painful. And so for bottom surgery, which you had, so from a nuts and bolts perspective, they're getting rid of your penis. And what exactly, like, can you tell me what they're doing with your skin and how they're creating? I mean, I'm a little bit can't understand it until you explain it, because I'm like, what?
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely a lot of drainage. So they don't really get rid of it. I mean, some of it is extraneous, but the vaginal canal, which is a cul-de-sac for me, right, is made of mostly in my scrotum, with also like some of the penile tissue as well. And then the clitoris is made from mostly the head of my penis. And so a lot of that tissue, a lot of those nerves were untouched, basically. I mean, they were touched, but they weren't destroyed in any way. And so a big part of the healing process is all of those nerves, all of that sensation kind of slowly beginning to come back online and being felt again. And yeah, that's the. I don't know how they do it. It looks at this point, 7 weeks in, it's still quite swollen. But I've had several medical professionals that I've gone to been like, I've never seen one of these before. This is kind of amazing. This, like, it looks incredible. So yeah, it's mostly, if I mean, it is entirely my old tissue, and it is most of that old tissue.
Okay, Sarah. So in a male's body, there is a space where a female has a vaginal canal, and there's a space there.
So, so I did look into this. Again, I'm not a doctor,
Yes.
but it seems like, from what I've seen, a lot of that is intestine kind of fills in that space.
Okay.
And so, yeah, you can just kind of push. There's a lot of space in your body. Like your organs just kind of fill the space they're in, and you can just kind of move stuff around.
Okay. Yeah. Because I mean, what I've learned about the vaginal canal over doing the Expecting Aerialist podcast, which is one of my many podcasts, is that there's vaginal tenting happening going on when you're having intercourse. So, like, I always think to myself, like, who is married to Shaq, right?
Yeah.
Who, like a man with a gigantic, like, how is this woman having sex? And basically, the idea is that there's vaginal tenting going on, and, like, things will move around for that to go in and for you to have the sensation and all that. So they basically, okay, this is so basic how I'm like trying to understand this. They take the skin, there's some type of cutting so that the skin is flatter, and then they basically create a space inside, and it's the inside wall now is that tissue.
Yes.
I mean, modern medicine
I know, it's ridiculous.
is crazy.
It is absolutely absurd. Yeah. So, so for me, basically, what they did with what they did to create the clitoris is they took the tip of my penis and whatever those nerve endings are, all that stuff under there, and they put that at the top, obviously, and it kind of fills in the space of the mons area, and so like I can feel like a ton of sensation right there if you touch that area, like all
Okay.
that, like all those
Yeah.
nerves are alive and well, and they feel really good.
So because for women, they always say the clitoris, just think of it as the head of the man's penis. That's what they always say when you're like,
Right.
okay, I'm trying to understand this. So, okay, Misa,
Yeah.
how do they create? Because eventually you can have intercourse and have penetration.
Yes. Yes.
So how are they? Are you having like? Are you going to eventually have like a pelvic floor PT to create space in there? What's
Yeah. So that's a great question. So the first week, yeah, the entire first week after surgery, I was filled with gauze. Basically, it was like a magician like handkerchief thing where like when they
okay?
removed it, it was just like infinite gauze. It took like literally a minute to pull it all out.
And it was just all bloody gauze in there.
Right, yeah, it was all just bloody gauze. And then immediately after that, I started dilating, which I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it is a standard, like a medical thing where you basically take a solid plastic, like hard plastic, rigid dildo, and you put it inside of you, and you use that to kind of convince your body not to close in on that space, either the pelvic floor muscles or, in my case, at the beginning at least, that skin doesn't have a shape yet, right? It's just kind of there,
Yes.
and so
Yes.
I had to like basically immediately tell it this is the shape that you want to have, right? And so for about 15 minutes maybe it takes to get it all the way in. My pelvic floor has been extremely strong as long as I've been an athlete, and so all those muscles for my entire life have never had any reason to be anything other than like contracting and closing that area. And so I had to kind of convince them to relax, and let the dilator in, and then as along with that, had to tell all of that skin and all of that tissue that had been rearranged in there that this is the shape that you should be holding. And so those two things together, immediately after removing the gauze, we did that. I learned how to do it. It was very stressful because I had just had all of this gauze taken out of me. I'd had a catheter removed. I had had
Oh my God.
the drains from the drains removed, all of that. And then they were like, okay, now you're going to do this thing that you've never done before, that you've never experienced the sensation of before, and we're just going to do it. And so we did that. And then literally for the first month, every 6 hours after that, the same thing.
You just have to put this dildo shaped thing in there
Yeah.
and let it just stay there. But you're
Yes. And that
healing,
was,
so is it painful? Yes.
so that first time, I don't remember. At this point, it's not painful. There were definitely some times throughout that first month and maybe a few weeks after that when it was, depending on how much activity I'd gone through that day, right? Like depending on how much I'd used those muscles to walk or to like sit upright or to do whatever, then telling them, okay, you're going to try to relax around this, like, well, here, actually, I can show you. Oh no, I can't. I don't have it with me. It's over there. Anyway, relax around this. Like it feels like a thick ice pick, except
Mm-hmm.
it's made of plastic, but it's like it feels sharp at the end almost. Not, it isn't sharp, it's a dull end, but like when you're sticking it inside of your body and you're thinking, okay, I have stitches in there, I have new tissue in
Yes, yes,
there,
yes,
and I'm
yes.
pushing up against it, it's very stressful. And so there's the stress of it, and there's also just a little bit of pain of like, this is new, this is something my body doesn't know, this tissue doesn't know what this feels like. And so yeah, there's some element of pain, at least at the beginning.
And skin stretches, obviously. Like I
Right.
think about like when people put those ear molds in their earlobes, and
Yes.
they want their earlobes to grow, and so they stretch it. Eventually they stretch it out. Okay. Now my mind is blank. I almost need to take out like my anatomy books to figure this out, because women have their pelvic floor is built around a canal.
Right.
So there is a canal in there for you as well. They don't have to cut muscle. They just have to peel it apart. Am I wrong?
That's what it is for me now. I don't know what they did in there, but yeah, I've been to a pelvic floor therapist, and nothing surprised her. Everything was as she expected it to be.
They must be doing that. They must be pulling apart muscle and not cutting through it, I'm pretty sure, because surgeons never do that unless they absolutely have to.
Right.
Even with the C-section, they're moving stuff around, they're pulling things apart.
Right.
Oh my God. Every time I get on this podcast with you, Jamiza, my mind is blown, because I never really, when I sit down and think about it, I'm like, oh my goodness. I mean, the other surgery that just blows me away is when somebody is missing, when they have to do an amputation under the knee. And some people elect to have their foot, which is useful still, backwards on their leg, so that when they put on the prosthetic, they're actually putting a flat foot in a prosthetic versus just a knee joint.
I've never heard about that.
I'll send you pictures. It looks crazy when you just see a picture of it, because basically there's a backwards foot attached right under a knee.
Okay. I guess, it makes sense that if you're accustomed to having your foot on something.
Yes. And you just don't want your knee joint, your femur joint into a prosthetic. And so I was on a podcast and somebody explaining this, and my eyes don't get that big, you guys, but they got as big as they can, you guys. Okay. Jamiza, you're 7 weeks in. Can you give us, from 1 to 10, what was the pain that you experienced, and how long did it last, and how bad was it, and could you sleep, and could you get relief from it to sleep, like all that?
Yeah. So first week, I was on pain meds, right? I was in the hospital for the first 4 or 5 days afterwards. But the main thing was the catheter. Have you had a catheter?
I have. It's terrible.
It was so unpleasant. And it was just this constant, like brain scratch of like, there's this thing there. Like I couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't have a conversation without like thinking about the catheter. I'm sure there was other pain too, but like that was what was on my mind. And literally I had that for the entire first week, which was very difficult to get through. The pain wasn't so bad, and it really has never been too terrible. What it tends to manifest as is there's a little bit of like a dull ache, I guess. Sometimes it's a little bit sharper, but most of the time it's this dull ache that is just like, oh, you have to sit down, or not really sit down. You have to lie down, like right now, which I haven't felt it too bad. I haven't been like, I have to lie down right now for about 2 weeks now. But for those first several weeks, sometimes it would be like, I could be up for maybe 5 minutes and then immediately have to get back into bed, or at least lie down horizontally. Very little ability to sit up. Obviously, I'm sitting up right now, so that's gotten better as well. Most of it has been less a manifestation of pain and more just stamina, I guess.
Okay.
Something about it is just sapping my energy. And I just can't stay up. The nerve pain is interesting because that one is good. You want to know that your nerves are reawakening, I guess, for lack of a better word. And that tends to be more like just quick bursts of just like this really sharp pain. They refer to it as kind of like feeling like electricity. That one just kind of happens, and there's no way to really prepare for it, no way to know when it's going to happen. It doesn't feel too bad, but most of the time, but it will be the only thing I can think about for a moment, and then it's gone. So that's really the main pain that I've had to experience here. Most of it has really just been I physically can't be on my feet right now. And that's exhausting. There was
Yes.
probably a solid 3 to 4 weeks of like, you just live in bed. That's it. Like you're not going to do anything except get up to go to the bathroom. And that's going to be difficult.
Well, and you get up to go to the bathroom, they took the catheter out. Your urethra is now, you pee like I do.
Yes. Yeah, I've been told that it's pretty indistinguishable.
Okay. So, do you like peeing sitting down?
I mean, I already was. It's different.
Okay.
Like the main difference is that when you have a penis and you're peeing, if you have like a water hose in your backyard and you turn the water on and the hose kind of like rises up because there's pressure in it, like you have that tactile feedback of like, oh, I'm peeing right now. I feel it in my hand. And it's weird to not have that anymore. I guess that's the main thing is just like, sometimes I'm like, I don't actually like if I pee in the shower, right? I'm like, I don't actually know if I peed. I just like, there's nothing that's happening in my hand anymore that says, yeah, you're peeing right now.
Oh my God, my mind is blown. Okay. And I cannot imagine trying to, because none of my surgeries, no, going back, when I was 6 months old, they had to do a surgery on Carrie's rectum. So my anus had a surgery at 6 months. And what is so effed up is that my mom doesn't remember what they did. She's like, that was so long ago. It's true. It was 48 years ago. But I was like, how do you not know? I think that in utero, my butthole was not completely formed. So they had to like go in and do some stuff, you guys. This is why I have butt problems. Everybody knows on the podcast that I have so many digestive issues. Anyways, so what is it to have to sit on something that was just surgeried?
It's so bad. It's so unpleasant. Yeah, that's why sitting up really wasn't a thing for a while, because it's that pressure there. I glossed over, and I shouldn't have. There is a tremendous amount of swelling and a tremendous amount of pressure there still. And so there's not a lot of pain except when, like, I can't bend over all the way. Like, I literally cannot bend in half right now because that creates so much pressure in the area. Excuse me. It's gotten better, but it's still too much. It's still just like all of that tissue and all of that stuff there. It almost feels like it's too big for the container right now.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And so when you bend over and you like compress it more, it hurts a lot. And so sitting in a 90-degree angle, right, was not very pleasant for the first several weeks. It still isn't great, but it is getting progressively better as that swelling goes down, as that tissue that is both raw and underneath the surface now, like all that penile tissue, all that other tissue that they used, it's all very swollen, and it is all pushing up against the skin basically, and it doesn't like that. It doesn't like to be like smushed like that.
And are you swollen anywhere else in your body besides where the surgery was? Like when I was pregnant and I had my C-section, like my ankles were so swollen.
Gotcha. Not that I've noticed. Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Okay. Oh my God. All right. Okay. Let's go to the first question I had in my mind. Is this doctor essentially a plastic surgeon?
Yes.
Okay.
He is listed as a urologist, which makes sense as well because he has to be very familiar with all of that. But this is all he does, and it is reconstructive surgery.
And he's in San Antonio?
He is in the Dallas area.
Oh, you went to Dallas to go have this surgery. Yeah. Okay. This is very specialized. I can imagine.
Yes. Yeah, he does this surgery and only this surgery, and he does it over 200 times a year.
Do you know how many doctors like him are in Texas?
I don't think there's very many. I
Okay.
don't know for sure. I know that there is a doctor in Austin that does it. I As far as I'm aware, those are the only two places that you can really go for it. I'm sure there's got to be somebody in Houston. Houston's huge, but
Houston's huge, yeah.
yeah, but I didn't see anything about anybody else other than these two. But I also didn't really look. Um, I looked at the country, and then as I narrowed it down to Texas doctors, these were really the only two that I considered.
And I'm like imagining like in 2026, it is the future. 2026, it's the future now. Are doctors going in and like learning how to do this surgery? Like when are they learning how to do this or the other one where they're rebuilding a penis? Like what kind of extra medical school are you going to for this?
I don't know. I think you have to really want to do this.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah, yeah, but I don't know anything about the process of getting into this. The doctor I saw, so I had to go see a wound specialist because I had some dehiscence around the site, the skin of the where it's stitched together around the
Mm-hmm.
outside of it was coming apart, which is very normal. It's very typical. But that doctor was a plastic surgeon, and he was he had moved on to wound care at this point, but he had worked with somebody as well. But he had worked with the person for several years, and he had never seen this surgery before. He had never seen the results of the surgery before. Mine was the first neovagina he'd ever seen. So it's still extremely niche. I don't really know what the process would be to get into that, but I have to assume that you have to like almost go into it into
Yeah, like
medicine with the
specialty.
goal.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So also throughout all of my interviews, I also kind of started to understand what exactly a G-spot is. A G-spot in a woman is when there's a cluster of these nerve endings and you're lucky enough to get them in a certain spot. If you're a woman, some women don't have that spot on them, or it's not in a spot where like the penis would be able to touch or reach.
Okay.
Do they know this stuff ahead of time? Does this doctor know that you have this cluster of nerve endings in this particular spot in your penis, and they are trying to reconstruct it in that way in you? Like, is it that planned out or no?
So that's actually a really funny question because no, they're not doing that. But what they are doing is when they form the canal, they are so hormones. So when I started taking estrogen, right, the likelihood of prostate cancer for a trans woman taking estrogen pretty much drops to zero. Your prostate kind of doesn't get have that problem anymore for the most part. Obviously you still want to get things checked, but in general the likelihood of it is basically zero. But and the prostate tends to shrink quite a bit when they created the canal. And they do this is basically standard. When they create the canal, they try to make it, and this is also in keeping with women's anatomy as well, but they try to make it so that if you were to push up against the wall in a certain way, you could stimulate the prostate. And so while they don't create quote unquote a G spot, there is an intention to give you some sort of similar situation where if you push up against the wall in a certain way, you're stimulating the prostate. And for a lot of people, that's very pleasurable.
I'm thinking so hard because men have someone who's born male has a prostate no matter what, and that stays. They don't change that anatomy.
Right. They don't, yeah, they don't want to remove anything unnecessarily. So,
Right.
yeah.
Oh my God. And because of the hormonal change, your body is reacting in a different way.
So, okay. So we are on your podcast. I assume everything's okay to discuss?
Yes. Everything.
Yes, okay. So obviously there is no way to have the experience of being in a body that was born male and experiencing an orgasm, and being in a body that was born female and experiencing an orgasm. So you cannot know that there is, you can't have that experience. But I will say, about 6 or 7 months into estrogen, my orgasms changed like pretty significantly.
Really?
And yes, and the first time it happened after I finished, well, okay, first of all, the liquid, I guess, has completely changed. It is not at all what you would expect from semen. Basically, it has a different texture. It has a different smell. It has a different flavor. It basically seems to be almost the same as what a person born female produces.
So interesting.
It's so interesting because your body, like, it's not it's not absurd for your body to make something differently, right? Like it's just getting a different blueprint. And so now that we're doing estrogen instead of we're doing testosterone, we're doing this instead of that. It has fundamentally changed what is being produced, and along with that, the experience, and this isn't necessarily true for every trans woman, but it is true for a lot of trans women, where they notice that the orgasm is less of a just singular explosion of one moment, I guess, and much more of a sustained, just kind of it. The first time it happened for me, I was with my wife, and she was like, that seemed like what happens to me. And it seems very similar. Obviously, there's no way to know. You cannot possibly have the experience of doing one and then the other,
Yes.
but it is fundamentally different. And I've only ever heard that people who are able to orgasm after the surgery, that it continues to get better. It continues to feel much more in line with what we perceive as being a female orgasm.
I mean, a female orgasm is theoretically better because it's not like working up to one moment
Right.
necessarily. If a woman knows her body and then has a great partner, or even if they don't, they can do this
Right.
themselves. They can have multiple orgasms within one sexual encounter, right? More is better usually, right?
What do I
So
think? Yeah.
yeah, so in that way, I think it's arguably better. But then also, you have to figure out your body because
Right.
like a lot of women don't figure that out for years and years and years, and only later on, or maybe never. Because you have to experiment with yourself. Sometimes
And you
by
have to
yourself.
feel like you're able to do that experimentation, which we have not done a very good job of telling
Yes,
girls and women that that's something that you can do.
absolutely. Okay, so you're 7 weeks in. When can you imagine being done with recovery and you feel like a normal person? You don't have you're just a body. You're healed from
Right.
surgery. When can you imagine this is going to be?
In general, 3 months in, I'll have another follow-up appointment. And if it goes well, which I'm expecting it to, I don't have any reason to think it won't. At 3 months, which is, what is that, 5 weeks from now? If that goes well, they'll give me the all clear to begin doing other like normal things that I would have been doing. Slowly building working out into my routines again, slowly building more activity into my routines. If someone told me today that I was like halfway to feeling mostly better, I would believe them. Um, the entire process, I should expect to take close to a year, probably. But that's like literally being fully 100% like, you don't even think about this anymore ever. At 3 months, I'm also, if it goes well, cleared for sexual activity again. And so we can begin experimenting with that, as you said, and begin trying to figure out how that works. So, really, in general, about 3 weeks should be a pretty big turn, or sorry, 3 months should be about a pretty big turning point. And then again, I think I have another follow up at 6 months and then again at 1 year. But in general, after 3 months, I should start being able to feel like normal life again.
Would the analogy of like now you have a new sports car feeling, does that resonate? Like you want to take it out for a drive
Okay,
type of
so
situation?
yeah, I think so. I think it's cool, right? Like I think it's really interesting and cool that uh I was able to do this, that there are people out there that are able to work this magic, I guess. And like there's just little things that I wasn't able to do before. So like I wore some like really short pajama pants shorts the other day. And I
Mm-hmm.
kept thinking like I need to check to make sure I'm not like hanging out the bottom. And then I'd be like, no, I don't. I don't have to worry about that at all anymore. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's not a thing for me anymore. And like these basic, like really mundane things are so novel to me still. And yeah, I'm kind of loving that.
Yeah, like you can wear some undies, some
Yeah,
cute
exactly.
undies.
Yeah, cute undies.
Cute undies. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Um,
Although I am extremely puffy still, so maybe not yet.
right.
Yeah.
Are you like one of those who like, are you excited for summer bikini type of situation?
I very much am. Yeah, I
Okay.
am. Because again, I last year was my first year of transition, and I couldn't, I certainly wasn't going to wear one then. So I've had like skirt bikini things, which are cool and they're cute and they feel good. But also, I love going to the river, and it's going to be really nice this year to go to the river and wear as little clothing as possible.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now to the identity part of this question.
Yeah.
Is it what I expect when it comes to when I'm assuming that you feel even more so yourself now? Is that
Oh, yeah.
resonant?
It is incredible to me. Like I had wanted to do, I had considered doing this, as I mentioned last time. I considered doing this before even considering going on hormones. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so this is something I'd wanted to do for a very long time. Even so, the amount of like not missing the external genitalia it is kind of incredible to me. Like from the moment the packing came all out, the everything was removed, it has felt like, oh, that's correct. That's normal. That is how it should have been. And it has never, I've not one time felt, even when it was like the worst of the recovery, even when it was the most painful of the recovery, I have not once regretted this or had a feeling of like maybe I shouldn't have done this. Like it is the most normal thing to look down and see that at this point. And it has been that way since I could first see it.
Right. So it's much easier to go through a surgery when you're like, this is obviously uncomfortable right now.
Yeah.
But man, this is going to be so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I like this. And you're gonna like, sorry TMI, but you're gonna have like this super like fresh type vagina, unlike
No, it's true. It is far
unlike
it
other
is
people our age.
it is far too tight still. I'm working on that. It is far too tight right now. But yeah, that is true. Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't have any city miles on it because it's brand new. My God,
No city miles.
no city miles. Okay, and this is gonna go out on Grain of Grass and Expecting a Realist. You have not yet also been able to take your sports car for a drive on an aerial apparatus yet, your new body. But
Correct.
I also assume that you're looking forward to that as well.
I am looking forward to that as well. I mean I don't know. We have seen each other. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
we've seen each other once,
Yeah,
I
like
think,
maybe
since
once.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have lost so much muscle
Mm.
through this recovery process. So I'm really curious. I'm actually more curious about that than I am about this. Although I am very much looking forward to doing hip circles. I'm looking
Yes.
forward to
Yes.
doing all those drops on fabric that I was always like, I just don't do those. It's not worth it. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I'm looking forward to trying out. But excuse me, more than that, I'm just curious, like, am I going to be able to climb? Am I going to be able to like do any of these things that I used to be able to do? And how long is it going to take to build that back up, especially now that my body literally isn't producing testosterone?
You're going to be struggle busting just like I do every single week, Misa. That's
I don't want
basically what I think. And then also, it's like, you know how, maybe not so much all the time anymore, but it seems like this world is it's a man's world, right? The
yeah,
society is a man's world. Well, the aerial studio is a woman's world when it comes to that, right? It
yeah.
is. It's made for our bodies because there's
It's
not this
that's
thing in the
absolutely
way.
true.
Yeah.
That and I mean, I know that it's probably different in other countries where the sport is a little bit more male dominated, but that has always been one of the things I really appreciated about it, was that this was the space that I was being allowed into, even though it was not really my space. It was not really for me. And I mean, we say that it's for everybody, right? But like, it was one of the few places in San Antonio, right, in the United States, that really does feel like this is a space for women, and that is designed around women. And I love that about it. And I hope that it continues to feel welcoming like that as I continue to transition in this way.
Well, not to be exclusive, not to men, because that's actually not the exact way I meant it. What I meant is that when there's a penis involved and a scrotum involved, the actual apparatus, there's a thing in the way. That's all I meant by that. You
Oh,
know,
for
like
sure. Yeah. No, and I understand that. I agree with that. But
for
yeah.
sure more women than men, but even that, like I'm always asking my other co-host Noah, because he's an aerialist, like, what do you do with the basic salto? There's a crisscross underneath you. Like,
Yeah, I didn't do saltos. I just didn't do them. It was not worth it to do a salto. Salto's kind of boring. So like I just didn't
yeah,
do it. Yeah. And like it's good to learn it. It's good to know how it works, especially as someone who's going to go on someday and theoretically teach it. But like just doing it, it was like there's 1,000 things you can do. And so
well,
just don't do
yeah,
that one. Yeah.
yeah. Like, why do you
But,
need to like almost
yeah.
catch it as you're dropping? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But there are ways to mitigate it. And I'm sure that there are men out there who have figured it out. But when I had a cock, I didn't have a clue, and I didn't think it was worth it.
Yeah, because it doesn't go right, and it's a rope. When you're in a rope too. Whoo!
Yeah.
What other things are you looking forward to, if any?
In aerial or in something
Life,
else? In
anything,
life. Oh, yeah, things I'm
anything.
looking forward to. I mean, I already said going to the river. That's really
Yeah.
like, honestly, I kind of live my life around like those few months in the middle of the year when I can go to the river. So like, yeah, really looking forward to that.
Where you go, San Marcos?
Yep. Yeah, I went to school out there, and that river is really wonderful. The water is excellent, and it's significantly less crowded than New Braunfels. So it's great.
Can you just spell any Texas? What's the word? Ever since I moved here, my basic thought is that there's so much social media pinning like California and Texas people against each other for some reason. Basically, it's like a libtard versus a MAGA theme happening. But what I've learned since I've lived here, and I don't live in the rural parts of Texas, I live in the city, it is not that. At least that's not my experience of it. Is it?
Yeah,
Does that resonate with you?
that's manufactured. It's
It
such a
is.
manufactured thing. It is literally, it is a thing that I think is manufactured mainly by conservatives in order to kind of keep other conservatives feeling like they're under attack, which is kind of, I don't want to get political on your podcast, but like that feels like that's the world they try to live in, is a world where everybody is attacking them and they have to stand up for their red-blooded American lifestyle. And that's all it is. It's just some group of conservative think tanks decided this is a good way to keep people voting.
Yeah, because even I don't like go vacation. I don't really go vacation to New Braunfels or San Marcos, but this is like your sweet spot. You love being up there.
Well, San Marcos is a college town, so
Oh, okay.
yeah. So the people who live in San Marcos, I haven't checked the demographics since I went to school there, but I at the time, a lot of the people who lived in San Marcos were more conservative. But then you have 6,000 college students. So
Right.
it
Right.
yeah, and that's who you mostly will see at the river.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So I'm really excited for your, like as you get farther away from your recovery, obviously surgery sucks. I mean, every surgery, there's nothing that's a piece of cake. So as you get farther from it, the hormonal change that's happening, your body continuing to change. Yeah, I'm really excited for you, Misa. Super
Thank
excited.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. What advice would you have for any trans people out there who might be considering the surgery? Any trans people who, youth out there who are afraid to try to do a transition or thinking, or even families that are thinking about transition and like need to know these nuts and bolts, like you as a full grown adult who's done it, if you could offer them any great
Yeah,
advice.
absolutely. So if you're thinking about the surgery, just make sure you give yourself way more runway than you expect. At least, I mean, I was a fool. I've never broken a bone. I'd never had any need for any other major surgeries. I was convinced that I was going to take 2 weeks, 2 weeks, and I was going to be back in the studio, not training, but I would be up and teaching and whatever. And obviously, that's not true. Very, very much not true. And everybody else was like, give yourself 2 months, 3 months, and that's about it. Like, make sure you give yourself the time that you're going to need because the healing is going to take a while, and you're not going to be able to do much during that time. If you are a person who is considering transition, if you're considering it, obviously, like every person is different. I'm not telling anybody what they should do, but you can take hormones and you can find out if that feels good. And most, if not all, of the trans people I know, they started hormones and within a week or two, were like, this is correct. This is my body understands that this is right. For me, it was within 5 days. My brain stopped yelling at me. That's long before any physical changes will occur. That's long before any sort of permanent changes for sure occur. If you are thinking this maybe is something I want to do, you can try it. You can find out if this is good, and you can decide with a little bit more information, yes, this is what I want to do, or no, this is not what I want to do. Every trans person I know wishes they started sooner. And so if you're even just having that thought of like, hey, maybe this is something for me, that's one more piece of data that you can get without doing anything permanent to your body, without doing anything permanent, to your body, to your brain, to anything. And you can find out a little bit more about if this is right for you.
Now, do people need to find an endocrinologist first, or can they just talk to their primary care doctor?
You probably can't just talk to your primary care doctor. If you're in a place with a Planned Parenthood, that's where I went. I went to Planned Parenthood. Depending, I think, on your state, you maybe can just do informed consent and not have to go to a therapist or go to an endocrinologist. You can just say, I understand what this will do to my body, what the risks are, and I still want to do it. Excuse me, and they'll just give it to you, or you'll pay for it, whatever. Planned Parenthood is great for that. A lot of places have queer specialized health centers. San Antonio has ARC. That's another place that will do it. But in general, the easiest, most expedient way to start this process is to go to a Planned Parenthood.
Okay. And then I love that there is like an actual like test drive, as we call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was I wasn't sure when I decided to start. Like I had known I was trans for like several decades. I wasn't sure I wanted to do this. And then I started it, and it was extremely I was certain within a week that I did not want to stop. And yeah, that was long before any changes.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, especially if you're, I think there's always one, like a great thing about like, if you can try something out, really like sit with it for a while.
Yeah.
And then, even when you're trying a new job or like a new sport or something, you want to just feel it and, you know, start to understand how it changes your life, how it changes your body, how it changes how you think about things. I love this, Jamiza. I have to say, and I'm not deep diving for other podcasts on like bottom surgery, but I have to say, like, for a lot of my audience, you may be the only person they've listened to who is going through this, and it's educational for me and for them too. So I thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm doing my best to be very visible as a trans person, because I know that there are a lot of trans people who can't be visible, who either literally for their own safety or just for their own mental health can't be. So I'm trying to be as visible as I can, because it's not a great time for us in the United States right now.
Right.
And I want as many people as I can to see that we're not whatever Fox News is saying to them.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's like we need these leaders and these advocates in our community to give a permission structure to the kids and the young adults underneath us to not have as much fear. You know, there's trailblazers, and you happen to be one of them. I consider myself that in a way as well when it comes to our sport and being Asian American. There are people before us, but I feel like we're kind of more at the beginning of the world changing around us, and that acceptance kind of having to spread worldwide about, you know, either one of the things we're talking about, for you being trans, for me being Asian American in a sport, having a big voice and having a megaphone and using it and trying to open people's eyes to what is possible, you know, and how you can live your lives in different ways. So, yeah, Miza, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in, my friends. If you would leave me a 5-star rating and a review, it means the world to me. It really helps people find this. If you are an expecting aerialist around the world, or if you feel like you have a story to contribute to this podcast, please reach out to me, DM, email, Carrie@wrapyourheadaroundsilks.com. I have an interview every single week, so there's lots of room for lots of stories. I really would love to hear from more of you. And the Mamas page, the Facebook page, I'm actually the admin for that. So I love that you guys are asking questions on there and really participating in the community. All right, my friends, check my website for my courses and also to sign up for this year's summer retreat in Miami, June 21st through the 26th. All right, my friends, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you later. This is The Expecting Aerialist.